Welcome back, everybody, to the TWSN show. I'm your host, Daniel Alameda, and always, I'm here with my guys. We got Jake Circus. Jake, how you doing?
Oh, this is a great day. This is a fantastic day. Don't know why. Fantastic day. Always good to be here.
We got Will Laughlin in the building as well. Looks like you're back home. Will, how you doing?
Yeah, it kind of feels like Thanos snapped half my team away for the Steelers. So yeah,
And we also
had a great day, but I'm glad to be here.
We also got our guy Max Marrero. Max, how you doing?
Doing great. I don't know if you guys saw the news. They announced a full capacity, full crowd UFC coming up in April. So that's some exciting news. And obviously I'm excited to talk about some NFL free agency. So
Exactly. And guys, we got a big time show here, right? NFL free agency is upon us. We got a lot of moves. I want to discuss my Patriots, wanted to discuss Jake's Bengals. We got Will Steelers, Max's Dolphins. But before we get into any of that, follow us on Instagram, right? Follow us on Twitter at TWSN_. We're posting all of the news. We're posting all of our analysis. Make sure you guys follow us on our social medias and check out our website. We got new articles coming out every day, and download the TWSN mobile app. Make sure you guys do all that. But let's jump right into it, right? The most active team in free agency, my beloved New England Patriots, they've been active, right? They went out and got Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, going out and getting guys, Matt Judon, paying the bank to everyone. But I want to get you guys' thoughts, right? Jake, are they doing too much? Is the Patriots, what they're doing right now, going to lead to a successful season?
So they're adding so many players because when you mix all the opt-outs last year and now all these players, they're bound to improve. Now Cam Newton's still their quarterback, and Cam Newton's not very good, but they're bound to improve. They still have the best coach in the league, but what they're doing, it's hard to not call them a quote-unquote winner because of when you spend this much money, you're getting players and you're upgrading. Like, they've made a couple upgrades, but I don't like the players that they've gotten necessarily. And I don't know if I agree with all the moves. Well, I know that I don't agree with all the moves they made. The only one that I really like was Hunter Henry when you consider both the player that you're getting and for the right price. The two receivers they got, their receiver room, they dished out over $30 million of guaranteed money, $60 million total, to two receivers to take their wide receiver room from 28 to 24. So Cam Newton still doesn't have people to pass you on the boundary now. He got two great interior tight ends, and this is going to make, the Patriots they used to have two good tight ends. I'm not going to say the name of one of them, but they used to have two very good tight ends, and they're trying to replicate that. Jonnu's going to play more on the or he's going to move around a little bit more. And then Hunter Henry is going to kind of play on the inline. So I like that. I don't like the money that they gave to Jonnu Smith. I don't like the money that they gave to Jalen Mills. I don't like the money they gave to Nelson Aguilar. But you're adding these players. They're going to improve the team. They're still the second best team in the division. There's a clear gap between them and the Jets. Miami's interesting. I don't think Miami's going to win double-digit games again. But they're certainly interesting. I think they're going to make a push for Deshaun Watson. But I didn't like the moves. Like $200 million, over $100 million guaranteed money in a 40-hour span. And I didn't mention Judon. I don't like Matthew Judon. I don't think he's very good. But they're going to improve. So to answer your question, they're going to improve. But I think they could have done things differently.
So the difference is, here, let me pitch in really quick. Jake mentioned the fact that, New England's trying to replicate some of the same kind of tendencies they had on offense in the years past during the Tom Brady era when they had the two elite tight ends. People know who I'm referring to, and certain elements around that. But, the biggest difference between then and now is they had the greatest quarterback of all time on that team. This New England team, obviously, I would say they completely improved in every facet because, we saw they had practically no true skill players last year. They lacked a lot of pass catchers. Defensively, yes, there's a few opt-outs, but they kind of lacked compared to years past. Obviously, that's the Patriots brand is based on defense. So they certainly improved defensively, and I certainly think they'll generate more wins because of that. But I think the biggest thing that will determine whether or not these moves were successful, especially offensively, is the quarterback play. Is Cam Newton going to throw? Is he going to be more efficient passing the football? I don't know. I'm not saying he can't be. There's a lot of Cam doubters out there that think the guy's washed up and he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm not quite there yet, but I do think that Cam Newton does need to show signs of improvement in order to show that this Patriots team really has improved. So I think it really depends on the quarterback play.
Max, and everyone else watching out here, listen. Right now, the Patriots, they're doing everything right. And I'm not going to talk about the money because I don't really give a damn about the money right now. It's how are you going to return back to playoff contention? How are you going to return back to Super Bowl contention? I don't know if Cam Newton's the guy, but I watched his film, and his film showed a lot of he needs weapons. His film showed a lot of the system works. He's still athletic enough to get outside the pocket. He's still athletic enough to run 10, 15 times a game, so that's not the issue. There's a reason why Bill Belichick signed him for one more year, and that is because it gives you that same familiar face. So now you give Hunter Henry, now you give him Jonnu Smith, now you give him all these weapons, while Kendrick Bourne may not be a star, while Nelson Aguilar might not be a star. It gives him weapons to add to the plethora that he didn't have last year. So I'm confident in this team. I love what they're doing right now. They're going to have so much more talent on the roster this year than they did last year. You have Cam Newton for another year, and I just love what they're doing, right? And everything right now, just my final point is it seems like Bill Belichick is going all in for one last ride because I don't know if they're going to draft a quarterback. I think it's a smart move, but it seems like he's pushing for Cam Newton one last ride. Hopefully it takes him to the Super Bowl. That's what all these moves are pointing to, and that's my thought process.
But then they're not doing all the right moves, trotting Cam Newton at quarterback. It's like the 2014 Browns, overpaying for everybody, trying to win games when people don't think you will, and then trotting Cam Newton at quarterback. And I know Cam Newton wasn't the quarterback for Browns in 2014, but this is what it feels like. And you said they're making the right moves, trotting Cam Newton at quarterback with just slightly improved weapons, getting 2 tight ends, just because Cam Newton was good with Greg Olsen. That's not the right move. Like their defense is going to do very, very, very much better. Jeez, their defense is going to be very much improved. But their offense is not. An offense wins games.
So okay,
well, and you know what? And you know what's an incredibly under the radar move? I want to say this really quickly that the Patriots made that people aren't talking about is bringing back Marcus Cannon, or sorry, they let go of Marcus Cannon. Who was it they brought? Sorry, Trent Brown. It was Trent Brown they brought back. That was a great addition because we've already seen Trent Brown earned a bag because of his production in New England before he went to Oakland, now the Las Vegas Raiders. Bringing him back into that Belichick system, I feel like obviously skill players and pass catchers were needed, obviously, but the fact that you have that solid tackle now, the offensive line as a whole improves because of that, and I think the quarterback play will too. So that's a very underrated move that people aren't talking about that is so crucial for the Patriots.
Yeah, and I think, to be completely honest, everyone's on Twitter, everyone's on social media saying, Cam Newton sucks, Cam can't do this, Cam can't do that. Well, first off, he's a great locker room presence. Bill Belichick has raved about Cam Newton's personality. He's raved about his ability to be the leader of their team, and that's one of the reasons why they brought him back. Last year, I watched 4 games this morning of his film. He's not the most accurate quarterback. His arm is kind of shot, but he pushed the ball down the field when they needed to. And if he had more playmakers at the tight end position, I saw so many times Dalton Keene can't separate. So many times Devin Asiasi can't separate. But now that he has more weapons, now that he has another year with the system, tell me why he can't improve. And I truly believe all the signs are that he's going to have a better season this year, and they're going to win 10-plus games.
Sure. I mean, look, here's just my 2 cents on this. It's tough for me with the way Bill Belichick, I love how Bill Belichick is attacking this offseason. I don't love all the moves contract-wise, the money. Some of them are decent, some of them are bad. But the reality is you can call them overpays, but, I mean, the Patriots had a ton of money to blow. So it's not that big of a deal. And also, there's not too much fully guaranteed money tied in. Some of these deals have a lot of incentives. So I'm not even really going to get too hung up on that. The bottom line to me is Bill Belichick with this aggressive mindset, it's hard to bet against. I mean, Bill Belichick's still the greatest coach of all time. And when he's making moves, just the willingness to be this aggressive, I think it's just hard to bet against, especially moving forward. I fully expect the Patriots to make a big-time move at the quarterback, not necessarily this offseason, not necessarily trading up this. I just think in the next year, I think them sticking with Cam Newton is probably the most likely option when it comes to this season, and they'll improve. I don't think they're like a Super Bowl contender, but yeah, I would say that them and the Dolphins for second place. I'd probably give the slight edge to the Patriots because the Dolphins haven't been very active yet, so it's a bit of a question mark.
I'm going to concede 1 point to Daniel from a debate we had a few shows ago about what the Patriots were going to do at 15.
Let's do this.
Because I'm not going to lie to you. Now is the time to pick a Mac Jones at 15 if you're the Patriots, because I would say they're a quarterback away from being – well, I think they're already playoff contenders,
Mac
but
Jones
going
is
far in
Mac-
the playoffs.
So
Mac
Jones
Jones
is
in
that guy.
2021 will not be better than Cam Newton in 2020.
No. I'm talking about from a long-term play. To Will's point, right? They're going to need an improvement.
They don't feel like they're trying to win long term. They feel like they're trying to build that right now and win in the next 2 years.
So yeah,
I don't think
Max,
quarterback doesn't do that.
Max, to counteract
Yes.
your point, listen, I was like, listen,
Look at the moves they made.
I was on the Mac Jones train for so long. I was like, okay, we want a game manager type guy, but all the moves they're making right now, and the reason why they re-signed Cam Newton is because it seems like they love that mobile style quarterback. They love being able to have that power run game, have that play action pass, get your quarterback outside of the pocket. And that's why I'm not completely ruling out them drafting Trey Lance or drafting a mobile quarterback to learn behind Cam Newton. But right now, it seems like they want to win now. I don't know who they'll draft. Maybe they go and draft a cornerback. Maybe they go and draft Micah Parsons to win now. They're in win now mode. Bill Belichick is win now. And that's why I don't see him wanting to retool with a younger quarterback.
So let me ask you this.
Also why
Let me ask you this. So Trey Lance, I'm assuming, do we all agree that Trey Lance is probably going to be in the top 10 conversation? He'll probably be taken in the top 10.
Schefter said today that he expects 4 quarterbacks to go in the top 6.
And I think that's fair. But I'm
Sewell at 5, and Chase or Smith at 3.
So with that in mind, do you think the Patriots would be aggressive and trade up for Trey Lance, or do you think they would stick at 15? You think so?
Yeah, no, that's
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Tough. It's
I think
tough,
they're going to
right?
try to do that.
I think so too, but that's what I hope. I want them to do that, but right now it seems like they're in win now mode.
Yeah.
I can totally, like I said, I can see them standing pat taking Micah Parsons. I don't know why. I just think they're in win now mode right now, and that's why it's so hard for me to really see them taking a Trey Lance. I hope they do. I hope they take Justin Fields / Trey Lance. I hope they trade up into the top 8 because that's a smart move. Have them learn behind Cam Newton and usher in that new era type quarterback. I just don't know if that's what Bill Belichick wants.
As a Dolphins fan, I do not want to see Zach Wilson end up on the Patriots, man. I don't want to see that happen.
Okay.
That guy's special. I don't want to see that happen.
I mean, here, I just want to add one more point.
Yeah.
Like, with all these moves, if anything, I just think all these moves that the Patriots are making is a sign of things to come when it comes to them making a splash move at the quarterback, whether it's trading up for Trey Lance, whether it's making just a trade for a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo if he became available. They're going to make something happen, and it's going to be, I guess, it'll be an upgrade over Cam Newton. I just can't see Bill Belichick making all these moves and being like, Cam Newton is going to be our guy for like the next few years. That's just can't be the case.
I think right now from the film and everything I heard about Cam Newton and Bill Belichick's relationship, it seems like he's rolling him out this year with hopes of making the playoffs. Real quick, just to finish off the topic, do they make the playoffs? Yes or no, Jake? Quick yes or no. Just
no.
Max?
I'm going to say, I would say more likely than not. I'm not going to say yes, though.
They're going to get a wild card. They'll sneak in.
Yeah, and I'll say yeah. I think love what they're doing,
I think
but
they're more likely than not to make it.
Let's transition into one of our other teams, right? I want to talk about Jake's Cincinnati Bengals, and they made a couple moves, right? Added
7-15.
That right off the bat, added Trey Hendrickson, went out and got a couple cornerbacks. Jake, are you happy with the moves they made? Talk to me about your beloved Cincinnati Bengals.
No, the Bengals are a worse team than what they were 24 hours ago. And, I don't disagree with any of the 3 moves they made. I think I like them all. But the fact that they're letting their 2 best defensive players walk, they're a worse team. And I think that –
defensive player.
Huh?
Sorry,
2 of their 3 defensive players, 2 of their 3 best defensive players. Obviously, Bates is number 1 best safety in the league, unquestionably. But it's really interesting to me because they tried so hard to bring Carl Lawson back, and looking at Carl Lawson's stats, so you see the 5.5 sacks, and it kind of sends you away a little bit. But no, Carl Lawson's a lot better than Trey Hendrickson. It's not even close. But the Bengals went all out to try to bring back Lawson. they failed because they didn't want to give him the guaranteed money. They then gave Trey Hendrickson the same average amount, $15 million, which is an overpay. For Lawson, it's not. I've been saying for 2 months Lawson's going to get $15 million. That's exactly what he got. And they gave Hendrickson $15 million, but they gave him 20 less guaranteed money, and they gave him an extra year. So, no, I didn't like that signing. That was an overpay for a worse player. And then they're letting William Jackson walk, and then they signed Awuzie from Dallas, who's a worse player than William Jackson, fine replacement, and then they went out and signed Mike Hilton, who's going to be an upgrade over Mac Alexander, who they're also going to let walk. So they're adding three corners and losing two, because they're adding two corners from free agency this year, plus Trey Waynes, who was out the entire year last year, and they're losing Jackson and they're losing Alexander. So they're adding an extra piece to that room. It makes their secondary deeper, but they're a worse team right now, and they're not done. They're going to keep making moves. They're going to upgrade the offensive line. I'm not worried about that, but they're a worse team right now, so they have a long ways to go.
Just for the audience, real quick, why is Carl Lawson better than Trey Hendrickson?
So Carl Lawson, first of all, is built like a food truck. The guy's massive. He's explosive. He's faster. Now, I've been saying this for the last couple of days because it broke yesterday that Bengals were going to be interested in Trey Hendrickson, which I wasn't even expecting, because I thought this whole time the number one priority was to retain Carl Lawson. But Hendrickson had the 13.5 sacks. Lawson only had 5.5 sacks. The reason for that, so Lawson had 9 sacks his rookie year, then tore his ACL, missed all of 2018 or 2019, then came back. Missed all of 2018. 2019 had a good year. Last year was his best year ever, was top 10 in pressure rate, top 10 in number 2 in QB hits. And then top 5 in pressure. So he got the quarterback at an alarming rate, but he didn't get the sacks because he was the entire Bengals pass rush. No one else. Sam Hubbard is not a good pass rusher. Carlos Dunlap was in Seattle by week 12, and by week 2, his head was out of it, and he didn't want to be there. DJ Reader was injured. Geno Atkins was injured and didn't really feel like he was there either. He had a baby, so he didn't want to be there. But so Hendrickson has the 13.5 sacks. Most of those, there were some where he had some good reps. Most of those were because he's playing with Marcus Davenport, but more importantly, Cameron Jordan, who's a perennial All-Pro. And I feel like watching some of his highlights, watching some of his film, a lot of those sacks were cleanup duty for Jordan and Davenport. But the most important thing is watching Lawson on his non-sacks is a very, very close to borderline elite pass rusher. Hendrickson is not on the non-sacks. He doesn't do much for me on the non-sack plays.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's.
I would say it's pretty evident. I mean, sure, like Hendrickson has more sacks, but I believe Lawson has more pressures or like a higher pressure rate.
Way more.
Tackles for loss, like everything. He's better in every other metric. And I mean, you said it. That was a mistake, I believe, by the Bengals to. I mean, Lawson is just a beast for them, because I mean they have basically in terms of average annual value, it's the same. It's like $15 million with an extra year to Hendrickson. But the difference is Lawson's a better player. So it's just as simple as that. I don't like that move. I think you're getting pretty good value when it comes to the contracts that Awuzie and Hilton especially get. That's where the value. They don't have cost that much. Now, it does kind of suck that you're also not going to be able to retain William Jackson. So it's like, how much better in the secondary are you truly getting? If you're able to like add those and keep your other guys, then yeah, that's a pretty good secondary. And it's still not the worst, because I mean I love Mike Hilton. It sucks to see him leave the Steelers, even though I kind of was expecting it, but to a division rival, that's even worse. But I mean, look, Hilton, he's a great blitzer. Probably he's one of the best blitzing corners in the league. Excellent tackler in space. He never takes a play off. He's just a grinder. He's going to thrive for the Bengals, which sucks for my Steelers personally. Yeah. But to me, like at the end of the day, Bengals, they need to get alignment. Like Penei Sewell is going to be the guy for them at 5. I think we can kind of pencil that in, but they have to get someone else because their tackle play wasn't even that terrible. Their guard play, in my opinion, their guards were just as bad as their tackle play last year on that offensive line. You have to sign someone or make some kind of a move, because just getting Penei Sewell for the offensive line is not going to fix all your issues up there.
So, yeah, and I mean, sorry, Jake, I don't really want to keep talking about the Bengals. I want to talk about a different team that's in the same rebuilding phase. Let's talk about the Jaguars, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars made a lot of interesting moves in the past couple of days. Max, talk to me, right? I mean, they went out, they got a couple special teams guys, got a couple receivers, got some defensive backs. Talk to me. What have you seen from Urban Meyer's first free agency?
He's completely committed to his future quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He's trying to give him the weapons he needs to succeed in the NFL from the onslaught. Look, we know the Jaguars aren't going to be, playoff contenders from the first year. Obviously, it's going to be a progression. They're going to have to develop Trevor Lawrence, and obviously, it's going to be development from the head coach as well, because obviously, Urban Meyer was very successful in the college ranks, and this is his first try at the NFL. So it's going to be an adjustment period for both quarterback and for coach. So, but by adding guys like Marvin Jones, they added Shaquille Griffin in the secondary. They traded for Malcolm Brown, the defensive lineman from the Saints. What they're doing is their roster already is incredibly young, but they obviously have a ton of holes. What they're doing is they're filling in those holes with veteran guys that have a lot of upside that can help the younger guys with progression. For example, Shaquille Griffin, I believe, didn't the Jaguars just draft a quarter? CJ Hendrickson, right, from Florida. Yeah. So his production was a little spotty last year, considering that he was such a high picked prospect. And I attribute that a lot to the fact that the secondary didn't really have a lot of experience. He didn't really have a lot of guys to help him out there. But by adding a guy like Shaquille Griffin, who's going to be your number one corner from day one, you're going to start seeing a lot of improvement in production for CJ Henderson, for example. So, and I think that by adding veteran guys in different areas of both offense and defense, we're going to start seeing a lot of progression from those young guys. And Trevor Lawrence is going to become a lot more comfortable, especially with the skill players they added. Like Marvin Jones, I mean, how much did Matthew Stafford, for example, benefit from having a guy like Marvin Jones? Even Andy Dalton back in the day, right? By having a guy like Marvin Jones, that veteran presence, that speedster on there, that's just going to help your quarterback from day one. So I think what the Jaguars are doing is they're filling in those holes with veteran guys that will improve their team immediately. I understand, and I think we all understand that it's going to be a rebuilding process, but by adding guys like that, it's going to help Urban Meyer's transition as a coach in the NFL and eventually Trevor Lawrence transition as a successful quarterback in the NFL. So I think the Jags are making all the right moves. Yeah.
Jake, Will, do you guys
I have a different take on this. And credit to Warren Sharp, who tweeted some of this stuff a couple hours ago. So the Jaguars, as of 1:15 p.m., this was before the Marvin Jones deal. This was before Malcolm Brown. The Jaguars have now spent $1.4 billion in free agency since 2011. That's about 10 years. They've lost nearly 75% of their games in that span. That's the worst percentage in the NFL. They're now on their fifth head coach since that time. So teams have trouble evaluating their own talent, let alone free agents that played for a different team, for a different coach, in a different system with different teammates versus different opponents. And yeah, there are some anomalies to that, but free agency is won not in the first 24 hours. It is won starting tomorrow, over the next couple of days, over the next couple of weeks, and in the draft. Yeah. And the Jaguars have been the worst drafting team in the NFL. One of the worst drafting teams in the NFL. So you can fill all these holes in free agency. Look, signing Marvin Jones is not going to go wrong. Like he's a good player, he's a solid player. But to say that this team is, they're going to improve so much because obviously getting Trevor Lawrence, we assume, but this team will not improve just because of making a couple moves in free agency. They need to start hitting their draft picks because they have not over the last 7 years. They made one conference championship, and that's the reason why I believe in the impossible.
Well, I mean, here's my take on this. This actually goes straight into the point that I was going to make is I'm fully there's been a lot of questions surrounding Urban Meyer and can he get it done in the NFL? And I'm absolutely a believer. And one of the main reasons is because I expect the Jaguars to be so much better when it comes to drafting, just in the draft in general, because Urban Meyer, he knows the college level. That is true. But Urban Meyer, he knows the college level inside and out. He's going to be a great scout. He knows he's going to do his homework, and he's going to have great scouts around him. So I'm absolutely a believer in Urban Meyer being able to get it done from the draft. And I agree they don't need free agents, but I mean, none of these moves are bad. I mean, maybe they gave Shaquille Griffin a little bit too much money, But they had money to spend, so I don't really have too big of a problem. Look, Urban Meyer, he's a winner, he's a leader, and he has so much draft capital and such a knowledge of the college game and collegiate prospects that I'm expecting him to have a fantastic draft for years.
Yeah. I think last year was a start, right? Last year I loved CJ Henderson. I didn't really like Caleb on Chase-On. He had a decent year, and he's still gonna develop. And you also got Laviska Shenault. So we'll see. None of this really matters right now. It all depends on how does the young talent develop? How does Trevor Lawrence / Justin Fields, I don't know. How does their future quarterback, how does he grow within the system? But I want to talk about a team, right, that I think by far and away is the winner in NFL free agency so far, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? I'm saying it right now. They're returning the Super Bowl. They did everything that they needed to do, and they didn't need to do anything else. They re-signed Levante David, right? They re-signed Shaq Barrett. They re-signed Robert Gronkowski. They got their guys, and you still have the quarterback, the GOAT, Tom Brady. So I'm curious to hear you guys' takes. Are you confident in them returning to Super Bowl right now? They didn't go out and get anybody, but they kept the same exact core that they have. Max, what's your thoughts on the Buccaneers right now?
Well, I think they did everything they needed to, which is, like you said, retain all key players that led them to that Super Bowl win. Do I think they'll automatically be Super Bowl contenders this upcoming season? There's no doubt about it. Will they retain their Super Bowl title or even be back in the game? It's kind of too early to tell, in my opinion. We have to see, if they stay healthy, how their schedule shakes up, stuff like that. Because remember, even earlier on this past season, they had a few struggles before that bye week, and then after their bye week, they won every single game, including the Super Bowl. So if they start off a little stronger, they should certainly be in a position to succeed throughout the season. But you never know in the NFL. Football's a tough game. So you never know if injuries will happen or, if the team may not play up to the standards they did last year. But I certainly think they should be in the thick of things in the NFC.
Yeah. Well, Jake.
I want to hear what our honorary Bucks fan has to say about it. You didn't seem...
You're on mute, but okay, hold on. Before Jake talks about this, the backstory of this is all this year Jake was going back and forth saying the Bucks
this color is terrible. This looks
Jake
awful.
was saying Bucks are Super Bowl contenders. Oh wait, they're not. They're Super Bowl contenders. Oh wait, they're not. And I guess a week before the Super Bowl, I guess he became a Bucks fan. So I don't know, Jake. What's your thoughts on the Bucks?
Is Harrison still in here? I don't know if he's still in here. Anyways, he's my honorary Bucks fan as well. You know what? I'm gonna have to take this off for what I'm about to say. Return to the Super Bowl is so hard. Like they're gonna be in a position to do so. I just don't think they're gonna do it, especially with how good the Niners are gonna be. How good? Who else is gonna be good? Rams are gonna be good.
Still,
no, Jake. But you said the Rams. There's no chance that Matthew.
They're gonna be good.
Playoff games.
They're not, but they're going to be good. No,
it's on our Instagram.
The Bucs are the best team in football right now. But the Chiefs were the best team in the league up until February. What was the date? February 4th, 2021, and they didn't win the Super Bowl. So, look, I'm not going to sit here on March 16th and say that I'm going to be a Bucs fan until February 2022 because that's what happened last year. I'm 1-0, so I'm retiring on top of the hill.
That is such bad, Jake.
But no, they're good. They got all their guys. They still haven't brought anyone in. They're going to be unable to do so. But their roster's top of the league. They're the best team in the league going into the year. So there should be no reason why they don't. I just don't necessarily think they will right now. It's March 16th. But they're still, Tom Brady's still my guy. But I don't know what I'm gonna do with that hat. Like it's gonna be just sitting up there for forever, man.
Personally, I don't see what's. I said it before. I'll say it again. I don't see what's stopping the Bucks. Like a legit challenge right now to the Bucks going back to the Super Bowl. I know it's tough, and I don't see the Rams or the Packers. I mean, the Rams and the Packers, they're really good teams, but do I really see those teams?
The Rams and who else? Who else did you say?
I said the Packers. I don't see them beating the Bucks in the playoffs. That's my point. Like the Packers are going to be good, but they're not going to beat the Bucks. So it's like the Niners are there. They did it the year before. But I don't know. With the Bucks, like their defense could get even better. Like half that defense was so young, they could still ascend to even greater heights. It's like,
yeah. And let's talk about a different team, the Chicago Bears. Right. Sign Andy Dalton to be their quarterback, and the reports came out, Seattle, they are not trading Russell Wilson as of right now. And the Bears made a push, right? The Bears understand they have an issue at the quarterback situation. And I'm mad. I'm very confused at what the Bears are doing, but I also realize this has been set up for a long, long time. They don't have enough cap right now to go out and get offensive linemen. They don't have enough cap to go out and figure out what to do with Allen Robinson. They're in a tough situation. So they bring in Andy Dalton to be their starting quarterback or to fight with Nick Foles. Will, what's your thoughts on what the Bears are doing right now? Just talk to me. Let me know.
It seems like the Bears are just content with never having like a guy at the starting quarterback. And what do I mean by that? Like a legitimate quarterback that can actually take them somewhere. Like I'm just convinced that they're just content with not doing whatever it takes. I'm not going to blame them for not getting Russell Wilson because it was probably unrealistic for them to get there.
Yeah.
But it's more of just a long-term. When I look at the Bears, they, in a way, they're a little bit remind me of my Steelers. I mean, great defense, obviously, but in that they're just in a place where they're not going to be bad enough to be able to draft a really good quarterback unless they trade up, but they're not going to be good enough to do anything. So they're a little bit of like a watered-down version of my Steelers in that aspect. And so, I mean, look, just the Bears just seem content with being decent and nothing more. And that's unfortunate.
The biggest thing with the Bears is, okay, obviously, you guys mentioned it earlier, Russell Wilson or bust, right? Obviously, the fan base was really excited about the possibility of getting Wilson. We heard reports that they were the team most willing to give up the most assets to get Wilson. And obviously the Seahawks, smartly so, decided to reject that. You go out and sign a guy like Andy Dalton, and, literally, a week ago we were talking about Russell Wilson. Now they get Andy Dalton. Imagine how the fan base feels. How much of a tease is that? That's such a downgrade in every way, shape, or form. So I'm just curious to see how they approach this draft because, we've tossed the name out of Mac Jones out a lot. Do they go Mac Jones? I mean, Ryan Pace is literally fighting for his job here. I mean, this is the year for Chicago to make a sneak playoff run. I don't think they will. Allen Robinson just got tagged, and there's reports coming out saying he's not interested in signing the franchise tag. So I'm interested to see if they trade him for assets. The whole team, it's just, especially in the offensive side, it's just tough to see them being a successful football team next year. And it's not even a shot on Andy Dalton. I just don't know what Andy Dalton's going to work with. There's even reports they're shipping Anthony Miller. I mean, imagine if they get rid of Anthony Miller and they get rid of Allen Robinson. Who's he going to throw to, right? So it's a mixture of that and just incompetency from the front office. So we'll have to see. Are they going to go quarterback in the draft? Are they going to go for a receiver? It's kind of a tough call, but the Bears definitely did not win today. They have come out the biggest losers of free agency so far, in my opinion.
Nadir, the Bears are trash.
Yeah.
Losers in the sense that when they're
imagine they made the playoffs and upgraded at quarterback with no cap space. How did they lose today?
Did they though?
Did they lose because all the nutcase fans in Chicago who expect
they lost because
Deshaun Watson are upset?
Let me explain how they lost. When you franchise tag your best wide receiver and he doesn't want to sign the franchise tag, when you're shipping your second best receiver in Anthony Miller, when you sign a guy in Andy Dalton who's a slightly above average quarterback, he's not going to have much to work with. That team is not bred for success. They already had tons of holes in the offensive side. They should have been more aggressive in getting Russell Wilson. If not Russell Wilson, I think they should have been in the thick of things for Deshaun Watson by signing a guy like
trading Russell Wilson. This is not
that's okay, fair. But then you don't think they should have been in the thick of things for Deshaun Watson by signing a guy like Andy Dalton? That tells me that they're not going to go after Deshaun Watson. So they need to be aggressive in the quarterback position. They're not going to trade up in the draft for a quarterback after they just got Andy Dalton and they have Nick Foles. They needed a significant improvement in the quarterback position, and Andy Dalton does not provide that.
No. So here's the thing. Free agency goes fast. To use Andy Dalton, Bengals. If the Bears didn't sign Andy Dalton today, he's gone by the end of the night. Tyrod Taylor signed. Fitzpatrick signed last night. Now, the Bears had this pipe dream of winning anything with Mitch Trubisky from back in 2018 when he took them to 12-4, or that defense took them to 12-4. So if they don't sign Andy Dalton today for a very good price, for a quarterback who's supposedly going to start every game as long as he's healthy. He's their new starting quarterback. $10 million for a starting quarterback is a very good price. Tyrod signed for 7, Fitzpatrick signed for 10. Then what do you want them to do? Because Russell Wilson's not getting traded today. Deshaun Watson's not getting traded today. And if you think that them signing Andy Dalton is not is a reason for them to give up on Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, then I don't know what to tell you, because that's just not true. Them giving Andy Dalton $10 million does not mean they're not going to go after Wilson or Watson. They're still in the mix for that. Like, they're not going to give up. Like, Dalton's their quarterback right now. Dalton's their quarterback right now because they don't have one. Trubisky's in hitting free agency. They weren't good with Foles. Dalton's better than Foles. They didn't have a quarterback. They needed one today, or else they were going to get screwed. And they got one today.
I completely disagree because
I
completely disagree. Because let me explain. Because you stick with Foles, and what you do is you use assets to trade up in the draft, to take a Trey Lance, to take a Zach Wilson.
All their assets
they have listen. We even heard in reports they're very willing to give up a ton of defensive assets for guys like Russell Wilson. If you're not going to get Russell Wilson because the Seahawks don't want to trade him, fair enough. You trade up for one of these stud rookie quarterbacks and have him sit behind Foles, and eventually they're going to start midseason. That's better than getting Andy Dalton for $10 million. Well, explain to me how that's not a better idea.
Nick Foles is due a $6 million roster bonus in 4 days. They're going to try to trade him, or they're going to cut him, and to avoid paying that $6 million. If they keep Foles, then that's a bad move, because then they're paying $16 million.
Well, not anymore, obviously, now that they signed Dalton. But what I was suggesting is they should not have signed Dalton, and they should have used assets and draft capital to trade up for a rookie.
They're setting themselves up to be okay, to be in a situation that is obviously not what they wanted, but a situation that is okay if they strike out on Wilson or Watson. If they do strike out on these players, they still have a top 10 defense, because they're supposedly supposed to trade Khalil Mack, Eddie. I don't know if Eddie Jackson was in trade rumors, but I know Khalil Mack is for Russ or Watson. But if they miss, they still have those players in that top 10 defense and a very suitable quarterback to win games. So I'm just sitting here very confused as to what you would have liked them to do today in a very fast-moving quarterback market when 3 bridge backup quarterbacks signed within 20 minutes this afternoon.
They had a bridge quarterback already. They didn't have to sign Andy Dalton. A waste of money.
He didn't work. Trubisky brought them to the playoffs.
I'm not suggesting Nick Foles would work. What I'm saying is they think the long term.
They upgraded.
No, not by much. My point is you have to focus on the future. Focus on the long term.
They didn't upgrade by much. They just saved some money and got a quarterback who's going to win less games than Jared Goff has in January.
That is a
horrible. Whoa. Hold on, Max. You
upgraded quarterback.
Whoa.
What
did you say?
The Rams upgraded. They upgraded by much. Like they went from the 16th best quarterback to the 12th best quarterback.
That's a horrible comparison, because they already had. That's a horrible comparison, Jake, because they already
the Rams are also a way better team. The Bears went from
significantly
the 26th best quarterback to the 24th best quarterback.
My point is why go after a guy like Dalton when you already have a guy in Foles? I'm not saying Foles is great.
He sucks.
He's already used to that. Listen, because he's already used to that system. You then Let me finish. You draft a rookie quarterback. You trade up for a rookie quarterback who will be your starting quarterback probably by midseason, because even with Dalton, even with Foles, let's be honest, if Allen Robinson's gone, Anthony Miller's gone, or even if those guys stay, that's not a very good football team. That's not a very good football team. What's the point in signing Andy Dalton when he's going to have to learn the system? You can focus on trading up.
Hold on. He knows.
Andy Dalton's been in the league for 11 years. He can learn it. Andy Dalton learned the Cowboys system in 2 weeks.
Their offense coordinator is Bill Lazor. I believe he was with the Bengals, and he was also with the Cowboys. So that's something.
Fair enough.
And
but even then,
yeah.
I was just going to say, I understand that Dalton is an upgrade from Foles. That's not my argument. My argument is simply your situation is already not great. If you strike out on both Watson and Wilson, I think the next best move would be you already have a bridge quarterback in Nick Foles. And what you do is he's your week 1 starter, and then you trade up for a star rookie quarterback, and you think in the long term. This guy's
they can still do that. That's not a move that happens on March 16th.
I disagree.
What do you mean you disagree? They're not going to trade.
You said
What do you mean? What do you mean you disagree? They're not trading draft picks to move up on March 16th. They're upgrading at quarterback on March 16th with the money that they have right now. That's exactly what they did. What they did today was exactly what they were supposed to do. They upgraded at quarterback, and they're still in a spot where they can go from whatever the hell they are, 27th. I don't know where they are. They're way too low to draft a quarterback. They can move up.
That's my point. They need to move up. They need to move up.
They still can.
I don't know.
They're a better team than what they were yesterday. I don't know.
Not by much. Not by much.
I don't know what you would have liked them to do this afternoon when the three bridge quarterbacks that they could have been in on all signed within 20 minutes, and they got the best one.
You said it yourself. Their cap situation is already not great, and yes, there's no dispute that Foles is a worse quarterback at this point in time than Andy Dalton. I don't disagree on either one of those. What I'm saying is use your money wisely, fill in more gaps. You're going to need more pass catchers on that team, especially receivers, because Allen Robinson doesn't want to sign there. Allen Robinson does not want to play there next year, so you're going to have to trade him.
Any other receiver want to sign there?
We don't know. Marvin Jones just signed for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who knows?
Who would you rather want throwing the ball to you? Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer on the headset?
But my point is, for Corey Davis, for lack of argument, for Corey Davis to sign with the Jets, we don't know who their quarterbacks
are. Better quarterback than theirs. They're going to
have my point is they could have invested that money in more important areas of the team than investing in a back who's a slight upgrade from Foles when they could have just spent that money wisely. They don't really have much money to spend, and then focus on getting a rookie quarterback. I'm not saying they made a bad decision. I just don't think it makes that much sense. It's not that much of an upgrade.
Regardless, the biggest takeaway with this is they struck out with Russell Wilson, right? The Seattle Seahawks don't want to trade him. So now the only other option is Deshaun Watson. I want to talk about Watson really quickly, just because the Texans, they signed Tyrod Taylor, I believe, to a 1-year deal, $8 million, something like that. Houston Texans, I mean, who else wants him? I mean, the 49ers are still an option. The Jets are still an option. The Dolphins. Is he going to get traded, or is he going to stay put with the Houston Texans? Will, talk to me.
He kind of has to get traded. I'm expecting Tyrod Taylor to be their starting quarterback in week 1. I don't like what the Texans have done this offseason at all. Honestly, all the moves that they've made most of the moves that they've made haven't really been that great. I just have not been impressed, but I'm not surprised. I mean, it's the Texans. Deshaun Watson he has to go, and he's going to go because he's going to refuse to play he's not going to play. There's just no scenario in which Deshaun Watson's going to play another game for this organization. It's cost him way too much. In terms of teams, I mean, obviously we know we've covered this before. There's going to be a list of buyers. I think given the fact that Max, your Dolphins haven't been too active, maybe they're trying to just putting all their eggs into the Deshaun Watson basket, which is absolutely a great move for them. Even though you have Tua, sure, but
they also added Jacoby Brissett, I think, possibly to mentor Tua. That's why, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but Jacoby Brissett, I don't know. So I mean, the Dolphins, it makes sense. There's other teams out there, but to me, Deshaun Watson, he has to be in another uniform. There's just he's not going to play for you anymore. And the Texans organization somehow still can't realize that, which just blows my mind. Well, it shouldn't blow my mind. Max,
he's gone.
Jake,
if I had to, go ahead.
He has to be gone. I don't know who pulls the trigger. I don't know who wants to go all out. I don't think the Niners should, nor do I think they will. But Tyrod Taylor didn't feel like, this is going to be our week 1 starting quarterback, because in their minds, Deshaun Watson's still their quarterback, and they paid him fine backup money. Like it's a backup plus, like a 1B, because you're not going to pay a backup $6 million. But if there's a chance that he's your week 1 starter, yes, you pay him $6 million. So he's gone. Like Deshaun Watson won't be a Texan next year. If I had to guess, I think New England does it. It just feels like they're like they still have space.
They're gearing up for a big move.
Like they still have the space. And again, Bill Belichick needed a quarterback. You don't draft rookie quarterbacks on March 16th. He's like, hey Cam, you want to come back? You might be the backup. You might be our week 1 starter. How much did they give him? They gave him about $6 million. That's a 1B money. It feels like they're 5. They didn't give no. His salary is $6 million or like $5 million, but it can go up with incentives.
Yeah.
Cam Newton's not hitting those incentives. He ain't making no Pro Bowl. He ain't.
Why? Hold on. Let's actually talk about that, right?
Here,
Why?
let me
Why
read
can
the
he?
contract?
Why can
What
he
are
not?
his
No.
incentives even?
Hold on. I'm not curious about the contract. Let's actually just talk about Cam
Pro
Newton.
Bowl,
Why
then
can
no.
Cam Newton not succeed next year? Why?
No, okay. So it's $5 million if he's on the roster as a backup, $6 million if he starts all season, and $8 million if he starts the whole season and the team makes the playoffs. The rest, there's $6 more million in incentives, honors, and how far New England advances. Well, I'm not going to advance, and he ain't getting no honors.
Why not?
So it's about,
why can't they
$7 million.
advance? Why can't they advance? They improved their team.
We already talked about that.
And
Like, can I talk about Deshaun Watson?
But for you to bring up the Patriots, they also don't have the draft picks to make that trade. That's
well, yeah. Like, if I offered you 15,
Jake, they're not making that trade. Let's stop.
Why
Joking
not?
around. They don't have the assets to compete with Miami. They don't have the assets to compete with Carolina. It's not happening. That's nonsense. It's not going to happen. Maybe in Madden, it's not going to happen. I'll just tell you right. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. That's
happening.
Wait, guys. What's Jake? What would be a compelling offer for the?
So the Bears. I don't buy the Bears trading Khalil Mack. But the Patriots have been rumored to be interested in trading Stephon Gilmore, who's 30 years old. I don't think JC's a number one corner, but they might think he is, and he's very good. If they package fit number 15 overall, maybe a second, and then their next 2 first-round picks because we're sitting here and saying, oh, they might trade up from 8 spots from 15 to 7. That's at least 2 first-round picks there. Why not trade their best defensive player and then get a generational quarterback? Because they have what no other team can offer, a top 3 defensive player in football. Because Aaron Donald's not getting traded. TJ Watt is not getting traded. Those are the 2 players that I could argue are better than Stephon Gilmore, who, is 30 years old. But
it does not compete with an offer that can consist of the number 3, the number 18, a future star quarterback, potentially a defensive starter, and two second-round picks. But I'm saying no, and you're not wrong. But I'm saying New England cannot compete with the draft capital and the assets that both Miami, Carolina, and even the Jets have. I'm not saying I'm actually saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying you're unreasonable for saying that. But I'm just saying, frankly, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think New England has both the players and the draft assets that to compete with a Miami, the Jets, with a variety of different teams that are more willing to give up more assets to get a Deshaun Watson. I think it'll happen.
Jake, all I'm going to say is I just don't think, we're talking about the packages. I just don't know if the Texans do that. Right, you're basically giving Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, a top 3 quarterback in the league, and I think that is what would stop the Texans, even if they got that offer. The fact that you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to give this team Deshaun Watson," because if Deshaun Watson stays there, the Patriots are going to sign him for at least 4 more years, 5 more years. So you're basically saying, "Hey, Belichick, for the rest of your pro career as a head coach, you're going to have a top 3 quarterback in the NFL." That's what I would say would be stopping them from making that trade.
Also, they're just going to have better deals on the table. I got Bill Belichick being super aggressive trying to make it happen, but they're just going to have we'll see about the Jets. The Panthers, I think Panthers are definite players for Deshaun Watson. They would easily have a better
offer. They're my favorites to get Deshaun Watson. They're my favorites to get Deshaun Watson.
All I am saying right now.
Unless they gave up a bunch of those a lot of defense pieces on that defense, more than Stephon Gilmore, other guys too. There's just no chance, or small chance.
All I'm saying is that it hasn't been done yet, and people have taken Deshaun Watson's jersey off since the end of December. And we all know that it is the fiscally irresponsible thing to do for the Houston Texans to keep Deshaun Watson. If he is still a Houston Texan by the middle of April, that's a bad organizational decision, and they could get desperate, and some teams might not want to give 4 first-round picks, and they might want the best player offered. And I'm not saying Stephon Gilmore is going to be a deal breaker or the deal decider, But to sit here and say, oh, Carolina's going to do it, the Jets are going to do it, the Dolphins are going to do it all because they have the picks. No, that's not how, because because if you're Carolina, I don't know why, like, you would want to do that. Because,
because that's a playoff team.
Well, sure, but no one's giving them 4 first
no, why
picks.
wouldn't you want a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Like, of course, there's a reason why these teams. There's a reason why these teams are willing to give up a ton of assets. It's because, for example,
no one is willing. He's still a Houston Texan.
That's not true. That's not true. You're telling me that teams haven't tried and offered a variety of draft picks for Deshaun Watson, but the teams are remaining.
If the GM is still giving me GM BS that, oh, he's our quarterback, that means no one's given them the offer that they want yet. They don't value him 5 first-round picks. I promise you that they want to trade this man. I promise you they're trying to, and no one has given them the offer that they wanted yet. Because it's March 16th, and this stuff does not happen on March 16th. This stuff happens in April, so we'll see. But I promise you they want to trade him.
Yeah, they have to. The longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for them. They just have to rip the Band-Aid off immediately, as soon as possible.
Players who are in this deep rumors, it never works out. They always get moved. Russell Wilson's not there yet because he said, I want to stay in Seattle, and Seattle has literally, they came out today that they told them they're not trading him. Houston has not told people that. They might have said it, but I promise you they want to trade this man.
So, guys, we will see. But before we go into our next topic, I just want to remind you guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? We do this every Tuesday night. We got live shows every single day of the week. We got breakdowns daily. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on our social medias at TWSN_. We're posting all the latest news, all the breakdowns, all our analysis on our social medias. Make sure you guys check us out on all our platforms. And also one last thing, congrats to Shelby Harris, right? We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. He got the bag. I believe it was 3 years, $26 million. Congrats to him, big time. I'm happy the guy got his bag. But our last topic, let's talk a little bit March Madness, right? The college basketball, we got Jake, Will, Max. Talk to me a little bit, whether it's your sleeper predictions, just what are you guys' thoughts on March Madness? What are some surprises that you guys are hoping to see? Will, we'll start with you.
All right. So I'll start this off by just giving my Final Four. This was I honestly, my Final Four stayed the same. I mean, I've made a few brackets. That's just, I'm the kind of guy who makes a ton of brackets. It's just a bunch of, especially since we haven't had it in 2 years. But my Final Four, Jake, why are you shaking your head?
You're that type of guy?
Yeah, I make a few brackets. What's wrong with that?
Oh, I got to get my upset bracket. Got to get my mascot bracket. Got to get
I don't do that. No, I don't
my coach bracket. Can't forget the upset bracket. So that's a big one.
I do a meme bracket. But here, I'll give my final.
Meme bracket.
A meme bracket. Yes, of course. St. Bonaventure is going to the championship in that one. But my Final Four for real is Gonzaga. They're the best team in the country. And they're not even in that great of a region. Illinois is going to be a Final Four team, even though they have a pretty tough road. I think Ohio State is going to actually beat Baylor in the Elite Eight. I mean, Baylor's really good, but I'm just not. I don't know. Something about Baylor historically is just recently has just fallen short constantly. So I think Ohio State's pretty good. And then my sleeper Final Four team. I mean, they're a 3 seed. But I'm going to go with Texas. I honestly think that one is up for grabs. I'm not a believer in Michigan at all. They're not playing all that well. They're not playing their best. Their best basketball was earlier in the season. So they're not even playing that well right now. And I think Texas has 3 elite college guards, all upperclassmen, and elite guard play is huge in the tournament. And they also have 2 NBA level big men in Greg Brown and Kai Jones. Shaka Smart's a really good coach, so I'm going to give Texas the edge over Alabama and Michigan in that region. And then I actually think Illinois is going to beat Gonzaga in the championship. I know maybe picking against Gonzaga isn't the best choice, but I don't know. How many times does the overall number 1 seed actually win the tournament? Not that often. So, Kentucky had a better roster and they weren't able to get it done. I think Gonzaga is going to come just short. And I think Illinois, if there's a team that's going to beat Gonzaga, it's going to be Illinois. That team is just exceptional top to bottom.
I agree with that. I think actually the best team in the country, in my opinion, right now is Illinois for that reason. I just think that they are star-studded. I think they come from the most competitive conference in college basketball. The argument I use against Gonzaga is absolutely. I mean, I understand they're undefeated. They're an incredible team, and I expect them to go far in this tournament. I think they're pretty much. I would say they have to be a lock for Final Four, even though nothing's a lock in March. I just think Illinois. They have that experience. They have that edge. They've played against better competition. Gonzaga comes from the West Coast Conference. It's not a lot of competition there. So that's one thing that I have against Gonzaga. And, I'm going to just go before I give my Final Four predictions, I'm going to kind of just give some upsets that I think are possible. I think a very popular one, and it's fairly popular, is Ohio, 13 seed Ohio over number 4 seed Virginia. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that Virginia has severe COVID problems. I was watching a bracketology show earlier, and I was reading some reports that said that Virginia is expecting to be in the bubble, so they will play, but they're only going to have maybe one real practice session before the game against Ohio. And frankly, I don't know if they're going to be, this whole week leading up to the tournament, they're going to be doing everything via Zoom. And it's not like football where you can kind of game plan, and that's been proven to be successful. I just feel like you're going to lose a lot of momentum if you're a team like Virginia, and that happens against a high-scoring team in Ohio. So I think Ohio is an interesting pick as an upset. Another one I would throw out there is Georgetown, 12 seed Georgetown over Colorado. That one I'm a little bit 50-50 on, but Georgetown, as you guys all know, just won the Big East. And they won by a very comfortable margin against a Creighton team that probably was the better team going into that game. They beat them by, I believe, 25. And they also beat Villanova, who is probably the best team in the Big East, on their way to that, to winning the Big East. And, Georgetown's a feel-good story. They could be a bracket buster. And another one I'm going to mention, another 5-12, is Winthrop. Winthrop is 23-1. They play Villanova. People are going to pick Villanova because of the name, because of the brand. But Villanova is not the same team that won the national championship a few years ago, right? They can be beat by Winthrop. And one more upset I would give, and I wouldn't say it's really that much of an upset because, I think they are a hot team right now, is Syracuse over San Diego State. I think Syracuse did enough in the ACC tournament to prove that they are a legitimate team in this tournament. And we've seen it in the past. We remember, it was just 3-4 years ago that a 10th seed Syracuse made it to the Final Four. We know that when Syracuse is in the tournament, regardless of what seed they are, they can make things very, very interesting and very competitive. So just to finish this off, I guess I'll give my Final Four. I would have to put Gonzaga in there, and I said Illinois as well. I think those two are my locks. And then, an interesting one is Iowa. I think Iowa, you have to put them in that Final Four conversation because they have the best player in college outside of Cade Cunningham. I think Cade Cunningham is amazing. Luka Garza is balling out. And the thing is, that combination of Luka Garza in the post with those three-point shooters can be a very dangerous combination for any team facing Iowa. But again, it's very reliant on the play of Luka Garza, which we know in March, you can't rely on only one player to win games. So I would say they're in the Final Four, but that could be up for debate. And frankly, I think Texas has to be in the mix there too. I mean, listen, that team is legit. People are underestimating them against the likes of Michigan, as they should, because Michigan, I think, is a legit team and they could possibly win the whole thing. But I just think Texas has an interesting mix. They won the Big 12. But yeah, that's my Final Four right now.
Yeah, Texas is extremely boom or bust, but they're hot right now, so I'll bet on them booming versus, disappointing at this point.
I'll do my Final Four first. I have Gonzaga. They have the easiest road of any one seed. They're not going to get a test because there's no one. They could have got a tough second round matchup. They didn't. And I go to Missouri. Missouri's not good. And neither is Oklahoma. But if Gonzaga matches up with Iowa, Gonzaga already beat Iowa pretty bad. So I don't like Gonzaga got really lucky because the 2, 3, and 4 seed in the region they already beat, and that's just I didn't like that from the committee. That's just not. I just don't think that's something you do, but it could play to their advantage. So I have Gonzaga as a walkthrough to the Final Four. Then it gets interesting. On that side of the bracket, I have Texas. I think Texas beats Michigan in the Elite Eight. I don't know about Isaiah Livers. Like reports are out that he's not going to come back at all for the entire tournament, which would be catastrophic for Michigan. That's brutal for them if Livers is out. And Texas is very good. I saw them with my own eyes this weekend in Kansas City against Oklahoma State. Will didn't even mention Jericho Sims, who is literally like Giannis. Like the guy just gets rebounds and dunks and misses free throws. But like he's really good. Texas has probably, I think, the most experienced, talented backcourt, maybe even in the tournament. Texas is very good. So I have them beating Bama as well. So Texas will beat Michigan. I believe that's how it'll play out, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Texas will beat Bama.
Is this your meme bracket?
No, this is not maybe. So I have Texas beating Bama in the Sweet 16, and then beating Michigan in the Elite Eight. Bama also could make it. I think the winner of Bama Texas is going to beat Michigan. I just don't buy Michigan. I think they're the most flawed one seed we've seen in a while. I have Baylor making it through. They're the best team in the country, in my opinion. And then on the other side, I also have Illinois. So I have 3 1 seeds. I think they're clearly the 3 best teams in the country. I just don't see anyone beating them. Like, it's so hard. And like I'm not gonna be that guy. Like I'm gonna go with the safe picks. I think those are the clear 3 best teams in the country. And then we have Texas, and Texas might give Gonzaga a fight because they have the people down low to stop Luka Garza when no one else in that region does. Oh, sorry, to stop their backcourt, and then Timmy as well, and no one else really does. No one else has the backcourt power and the down low talent that Gonzaga does. Texas might, but so I have Baylor, and then I have Illinois. Illinois has to go through an absolute gauntlet, so I think Baylor rolls through them in the Final Four. Baylor really doesn't have to go through that hard. Baylor might have a really tough second round matchup against UNC or Wisconsin. And then the bottom of that region is very interesting. Baylor matches up with Ohio State so well. They're so good defensively. And if Ohio State is not clicking with 3, like making like 55% of their shots, Baylor's going to roll through them. Baylor had their worst shooting performance of the entire year and still almost beat Oklahoma State. They were with them until the end. I was also at that game. Very, very fun game. Saw Cade Cunningham twice this weekend. Very fun. But Illinois, Oklahoma State in the Sweet 16. Please let me get that. I need to see that. Oh, sorry, Illinois, Oklahoma State. Io versus Cade. Enough said. So I have Illinois versus Baylor. I have Baylor going through, and then Gonzaga beating Texas, and then I have Baylor beating Gonzaga. We were supposed to see that matchup earlier in the year. We didn't because of Baylor's COVID. We're going to see it again. We're going to see it this time on April 5th. Please. 2 best teams in the country, and I love Illinois. I'll go through some upset picks. I don't think Villanova loses. They're only missing their second best player in Colin Gillespie. Justin Moore is going to play, and so Winthrop's very good, but I think Jay Wright is going to get his guys going. So I don't have Winthrop when everyone else seems to have Winthrop, but I think Villanova's going to win that game. I do think Virginia is going to lose. Ohio is very, very good. Jason Preston is probably the best player on the court in that game for Ohio. He dropped 38 points against Illinois earlier in the year. Very, very good player. I think Ohio gets it done. And in that same bracket, UC Santa Barbara beating Creighton. I think Creighton sucks. The Big East was terrible this year, and that's also why I don't think Georgetown's going to win, because they kind of backdoor their way to a Big East title. Georgetown sucks. Creighton sucks. They just got boat raced by Georgetown, and how do you get boat raced by Georgetown and Patrick Ewing in the Garden? Like, come on. UC Santa Barbara is very, very good. They're one of the most efficient scoring teams in the country. Again, they'll have the best player in the game in Ja'Cory McLaughlin, Big West Player of the Year. So I have UC Santa Barbara playing Ohio 12-13. We got that a couple of years ago with Oregon. I think Oregon played, I don't know who they played, but Oregon was a 12 seed. They won, and then they played a 13 seed. Oh, I think UC Irvine. Oregon, UC Irvine. San Diego State, I don't see beating Syracuse. They might have trouble with their zone, but San Diego State hasn't lost in over 2 months. They're just a really, really solid team. Who else? I like Michigan State. That's an interesting pick. Other than that, I don't really see many upsets.
I want to give a few just sleeper upsets that I could see. There's a couple teams that I could see making a sleeper run. I could see Oregon Like Oregon with Duarte, I think they're going to beat VCU, and I think Iowa.
Yeah.
Like Iowa does not play defense; they just don't play defense. So if we're in and I know they score a lot, but if the shots aren't falling for Iowa, Oregon can score a lot too. I could see Oregon upsetting Iowa in that second round. And then to me, like Kansas isn't that strong of a 3 seed, or even if they're playing USC, like Mobley. I love Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley is incredible, but they don't really have that much else besides him for USC. So I could see Oregon matching up with Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. That would be a sleeper team. I think West Virginia is going to make the Elite Eight and lose to Illinois. I'm not really a believer in Houston. They're just never they never really play too many conference games. I mean, they're a good team, but I think West Virginia is better. This actually isn't like the typical West Virginia team either. This is actually more of a scoring West Virginia team is not excellent on defense like we know. But if they could just buckle down on defense in spurts while that offense can carry them, yeah, I can see them possibly giving Illinois or Oklahoma State a pretty tough challenge.
Sure. Yeah.
And then
West Virginia, West Virginia probably is going to go to the Elite Eight. That section is terrible. Houston might lose. I think
I can see Houston losing to San Diego State. I'll be honest.
I can see Houston losing to Rutgers. Houston, I don't think is that good.
Yeah, I agree. And then I want to give two just shocking, because it's tough to predict 14 and 15 seeds to win, and I'm not going to completely go here, but I think Oral Roberts is a pretty good 15 seed. They have I believe are top 15 to 20 in offensive efficiency. So they have a high-powered offense. They've come pretty close to beating quite a few ranked teams if you look at their schedule. They shoot a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes at a high percentage. And they're the second best free throw shooting team in the country. And that's huge in March Madness. So I could see them possibly giving Ohio State a run for their money in that first round. And then North Texas. And that's North Texas, they have a top 40 defense. They're pretty well ranked in the KenPom rankings, very well coached. And they're going against Purdue, and I'm not really a big believer in Purdue. So I could see North Texas upsetting Purdue as well.
Yeah, guys, I hope my mic's good, my little bit of technical difficulties. But, yeah, what a show, guys. What a show. We covered NFL free agency. We covered a little bit of college basketball. But make sure you guys follow us on our social medias, whether that's Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at TWSN. Make sure to check out our website. We got a team of 50 guys who are consistently posting their articles, their breakdowns, in-depth analysis, all that stuff. Make sure to check us out, TWSN, on all social media platforms. We have a mobile app, so make sure you guys check us out. But, guys, we do this every Tuesday night. We got a guy, Jake, Will, and Max. Fun times here. Love arguing with these guys, even if today got a little heated between Max and Jake. Max, we saw a little bit of fire out of you. I love to see that fire. But, yeah, we'll see you guys next Tuesday night. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful night.